Parton used to say, it takes a lot of money to make me look this cheap.
Uh-huh.
It takes a lot of things that must go right for the play that goes wrong.
Okay.
Imagine, if you will, Noises Off squared. This is a troupe trying to put on a play. We don't see their background stories. We see them just putting on the play, and everything. The props go wrong. The sets go wrong. The acting is disastrous. This play has some of the best, worst acting.
Right.
Some of the best, worst scenery, and some of the best, worst direction.
We don't know their backstory. We do know a little bit about it as the play goes on. We learn it as things happen.
To an extent.
And we know that they're amateurs.
Yes.
And we know that they're a little amateur company that likes to do things.
That somehow accidentally ended up on Broadway.
Yes, on Broadway. And this show literally came from a very small theater company that never would have expected to wind up here. But J.J. Abrams, was that the one who brought this in? Was it? No, I'm wrong about who it was.
Well, he actually was one of the producers.
Oh yes.
Yes.
Well, that's the reason that it's on Broadway. Then,
right.
Then that's your answer.
But well, he and quite a few other people.
Yes, but I think he's trying
here.
to be, like Rudin and.
Well, he has made an excellent
Harvey Weinstein. I mean, they're all moving into the, they're moving into the Broadway
Henry Lewis,
business.
Jonathan Sayer, and Henry Shields have written this play, and Mark Bell directed. And basically, if Noises Off, I guess, was supposed to be the typical British drawing room comedy or sex farce. This is farce with a capital F. This is basically an Agatha Christie. Think Mousetrap.
Right.
Is certainly the inspiration, where there's a detective.
Which may still be running in London, I'm not sure. It ran
I think
forever.
It is. Don't tell anyone the detective did it.
Yes, right.
And basically, there's been a murder. A detective comes to investigate, and you have the butler and all these wonderfully played characters.
Well, but it's not the characters that these things have to be cartoonish. You don't really invest yourself in the lives of these people. But what happens is the doors break and the windows fall and a whole second story tips over. And we don't want to spoil it, but if anything can go wrong, it does. I thought this should have been.
And there's an elevator. I don't know how they afforded it. How the onstage company could afford an elevator, but they've got one in that.
It's there, so it can't work.
Yes.
That's why it's there. And you see the way this is printed, so it's off the page. I think instead of saying the play that goes wrong, it should have said the play that goes wrong, which I would have found that more funny. Okay. More funny, funnier. But there's nobody here.
It doesn't get much funnier than this, let me tell you.
Well, the point is that there's nobody in this company that we know. It's the Mischief Theatre from London. It was brought over intact. There are no Americans taking over the parts.
And the play is probably better for it. We saw, the cast that we saw: Robert Falconer, Henry Shields, Greg Tanner-Hills, Henry Lewis, Jonathan Sayer, Charlie Russell, David Hearn.
Henry Lewis, Jonathan Sayer, and Henry Shields wrote the play.
Right.
No, that's
and Byron Corrigan.
Right.
Who saw it the night that we saw it. Apparently, I think there was an understudy for the the woman who was basically one of the techs who was pushed into to an onstage role, decides she likes it, which causes a problem when the actress who is supposed to be playing the role decides she wants it back.
Right. Now, this is directed by someone named Mark Bell, but the people who really deserve credit are the designer, who's Nigel Hook. I love that name. It sounds so British, doesn't it, Nigel Hook? And the lighting person, Rick Monjoy, and the sound designer. I mean, all of these things they're breakaway things that have to break away. So it's amazing that those things work so well.
It is. Again, a lot has to go right for so much of this to go wrong.
It is slapstick and Monty Python and Benny Hill and all of that stuff. It's British humor. It's perfect British humor.
You know what? This is better than I've ever seen Monty Python. This is better than I've ever seen Benny.
I wouldn't say that.
I would.
No, I wouldn't go that far.
I absolutely.
It's very, very good.
I laughed more at this than I've ever laughed at Monty Python. David Hearn, who reminded me of a young new vaudeville. Who am I thinking of?
New vaudeville, Bill Irwin.
Bill Irwin, yeah. At times he has this way. At times the cast will get themselves into a jam, or the set, something will go wrong with them, and they'll get out of it. and the audience applauds. So he acknowledges it. He basically...
Oh, that guy. Oh, yes.
Yes.
He gets caught up in it.
Right.
He's doing something, and he hears the applause, and he goes...
Oh, and,
and he comes to the
and then
front.
he gets more applause.
Very much like Bette Midler in Hello, Dolly.
Sort of, but
yes.
but more
on
so.
a crazy, but on an askew kind of way.
And then you wonder that there's one point where the detective is supposed to find a ledger, and he's saying a ledger. You know it's the party's, and you see it there, and you're just wondering, should we tell him?
Yes. People did call out.
Well, I think someone was planted to.
Oh, you think?
Well, the question is, you're thinking, do we call him out and tell him, or do we just let him sweat it out?
Right.
Ultimately, if no one in the audience does, they have someone in the back who does. But the bottom line is, I rarely
it's side-splitting.
seen...
This is when you say side-splitting, gut-busting, this is what they mean.
Yes.
And there's one thing that's an homage to Buster Keaton, where the thing falls down on top.
Yes.
The person is standing and the house falls down on
and the window. And again, now
that's a
Buster
strict
Keaton
homage.
did it. It was a real wall.
Oh, yes.
They have a real wall.
Yes,
And then
yes.
there is one set where the set, the
I
set
said,
breaks.
yeah, the one,
yes.
Yeah, I said that, yeah.
Where
anyway, we're giving it's running, and you should enjoy it, and I think you'll have a
it is a must-see.
Time.
It is
So what are we
5
giving it?
playbills.
Oh, you give it 5?
Absolutely.
Okay. I don't have any problem with that. I'll give it 5.
Okay.